Today, you're going to see a video which is outlining the Pool Re experience of why we believe that risk management is such a fundamental part of what we do, not only today but going forward, and in fact will become more and more important as we go forward, given the evolving nature of the threat and the desire to actually try and prevent the loss from happening in the first place, or if indeed it does happen, to actually mitigate its impact. The plan that we are trying to put forward is that if we can find a way to incentivize those businesses to mitigate their own risk and to mobilize their own resources in the mitigation of that risk, then that is something that we should absolutely be doing. Pool Re has been on a journey, I would say, and part of that journey is to, as all reinsurance companies do, to provide academic research, risk modelling, analysis of the threat, all feeding through into what we like to call the ecosystem. And the ecosystem really is designed not to use our position to ensure that the private market cannot compete with us, but actually quite the opposite, to provide all of that data, all of that information, all of that research, all of that modelling to the private sector to actually enable them to assess the risk, price the risk, and then determine how much of that risk they want to assume and retain themselves versus how much they want to cede either to us or to the private reinsurance market. So Pool Re has obviously spent a significant amount of time and effort, not to mention money, in developing the VSAT tool, and part of the reason for us demonstrating it here in Moscow is to, as part of the spirit of international collaboration, as the various pools from around the world look at their own risk mitigation strategies, we would like to offer them the opportunity to make use of the VSAT tool in their own countries.
One of the principal reasons why we need to understand the threat is that we can understand what our vulnerabilities are. If we understand our own vulnerabilities, then we know what those most appropriate risk mitigation strategies are going to be, and that really revolves around training, it's about procedures, and it's about how technology can help us. One of the themes identified within the relaunch of the government's counter-terrorism strategy contest is the need for greater collaboration between the public and private sector, and recognition that best practice principles must be adhered to. One of the ways which Pool Re has been enabling this is through VSAT, and ensuring that the private sector adopts best practice in its own protective security, thereby looking after its people and its assets in this time of heightened tension and threat.
So we recently worked with Pool Re on one of their projects with a major UK airport. So we tried to help them understand the current resilience arrangements and how they would translate into the insurance context. So we produced a probable maximum loss study identifying the financial exposure to terrorism at that piece of major UK national infrastructure. So as part of our engagement with Pool Re, we became aware of the Vulnerability Self-Assessment Tool, or VSAT, and we decided that we would engage with VSAT ourselves as a business. And actually I was so impressed by the system that we decided to use it ourselves. And I found that the outputs from it are very pragmatic and have helped me create a more resilient business, and as a result of that, we're now recommending the use of VSAT to our clients.
The Vulnerability Self-Assessment Tool, or VSAT for short, was something that we worked with ARL on, and it dealt with the need that we had to roll counter-terrorism risk mitigation tools and techniques out to a much wider number of our policyholders. The feedback so far is very good. We rolled it out from the 1st of April. The usage has been more or less as we expected it to be. More and more policyholders and brokers are wanting to use it, not least because they can get a discount off their premiums. Well, I think it's important to think of VSAT in the context of a broader risk management strategy from Pool Re, which is something that we are at the moment sort of thinking about what that might look like in 2019 and beyond. I think ARL have been a very good partner for us. We're very fortunate to work with them. They've got a good sort of excellent expertise in counter-terrorism and also software tools and techniques. So for us, they're the perfect partner.
VSAT is a software platform that enables any business to conduct a full security audit at scale, securely, and in a consistent way. And perhaps more importantly, it's also a tool that enables any business to identify any potential risks and vulnerabilities that are associated with their business. The user or the business that's gone through the process of self-assessing their levels of security using VSAT is able to reduce their potential risk and vulnerability, and in so doing makes it even less likely that the insurer, and ultimately Pool Re, would ever have to pay out on the insurance, or the terrorism insurance that's been provided to that business, thereby creating extra degrees of resilience across the UK economy. And it's important to remember just how adaptive and adaptable VSAT can be. So in other words, not only can it be tailored to meet a client or a business's bespoke operational needs and requirements, but it can also be adapted with the changing threat dynamic as it unfolds.